Whew, that Charlie Sheen documentary was heavy, but there is so much that we can learn from his mistakes as well as his current healing journey. Now just to be clear, this video is not excusing any of Charlie's past behaviors or any of his horrible choices, and it's not making light of all the people who his actions hurt. But I will be showing how to grow from mistakes, as well as why we should be learning from everyone.
I'm here to learn, everybody!
Now you might be saying to yourself, how can I, Jared, relate to Charlie Sheen in any way when I'm such like a goody two-shoes who tries to live such a clean life? So yes, I can't relate to Charlie's actions or his past choices, but all of us have pain. Whether in Charlie's case where most of his pain was self-inflicted, or in my case with my whole life-threatening illness, where something happened that was like beyond my control. But the question always is, how do we respond when life hits? And as I always say once again, we should be learning from everyone. Learn from people's success, mistakes, failures, etc. Because completely dismissing someone based on past actions doesn't help any of us grow from it. And I do hope for Charlie's sake that he does have a successful redemption story and that he stays sober and keeps on healing and changing for the better, because who doesn't love a good comeback story? Especially from such a talented actor.
I promised myself I wouldn't wait till the last minute this year.
Yeah, and you promised me you'd only stay here for a few days, so your word means nothing.
So the lessons I'm going to be explaining in this video are: a life without consequences isn't actually a good thing, the importance of your inner circle and who you choose to surround yourselves with, drugs and alcohol don't provide real happiness, and there's always a trade-off whenever you do those things, no one can save you, you have to save yourself, no person out there is all good or all bad, and more. So anyways, without further ado, let's dive deeper into this video now.
Give me a...
What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the Jared and James channel. I'm Jared Weiss. If you guys know it, miss me now, subscribe to the channel so you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, make sure to leave a like, drop a comment, let me know your thoughts on the video. Follow me on every platform, and if you guys haven't done so already, make sure to check out my book, Fight Through It by Jared Weiss. All links purchased on my website, which is jaredryanweiss.com. It's JAREDRYANWEISS.com. Buy the book, support me, and make sure to check out all the awesome shirts in there as well. Every shirt is made of 100% organic cotton. Every shirt has been designed by me with motivational sayings / words. So any support at all, as I'm always saying, is very much appreciated. So let's dive deeper into the AKA Charlie Sheen documentary now. So lesson number 1 from AKA Charlie Sheen is that a life without consequences isn't actually a good thing. So many times we see people skate on by and never get punished for their actions.
You know, one of these days, something terrible is gonna happen to you.
And I know that I do this too, where I look at them and I'm like, why is it that I try to do everything so perfect, and yet these people almost get rewarded for their bad behavior? How does that make sense? How come when I'm nice to people and treat my body right, but why are these people over there achieving things faster than me when they're doing everything wrong?
Tell it to the judge, honey.
It doesn't seem fair, and it doesn't make sense. And yes, while life may never be quote-unquote fully fair, as we can see from Charlie Sheen's life, this became a huge problem in the end. The more drugs he did, or the more times he showed up late, or treated people poorly, the more money he got, so he took this to mean that he could keep on acting this way. And while it seemed like he could keep doing this forever, he found out the hard way that he couldn't. And this is what led to so many of his issues, whether with people in his life, and his loved ones, or his career, which spiraled out of control, or when it came to his health and his drug abuse, which almost killed him.
My life turns into everything it wasn't supposed to be.
I do believe that the universe keeps a tab, and even if you don't pay the price now, you will have to eventually. Maybe you can eat garbage now, but if you do that long term, you're going to end up with health issues. Maybe you can party every night now, and drink excessively, but you can't do that forever. Your body and mind will eventually pay the price. Everyone saw Charlie as the poster boy for this bad behavior, and on the outside it seemed like he could do this forever.
Nobody got hurt, nobody got arrested. For a while.
But even he had to pay the price. So having consequences for bad behavior early on are actually a good thing. And I choose to see it as God in the universe loves you, and wants so much for you, and sees you as having this massive potential and doesn't want you to waste it. And it's as Charlie's character says in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, maybe you should be focusing more on you, versus waiting for the people who are doing wrong to be punished.
You ought to spend a little more time dealing with yourself, a little less time worrying about what your brother does.
And sometimes, of course, it can be hard to do. When I'm working hard doing everything right, and I see these other people who are cutting corners with their content or in the gym, and why are their numbers still better than mine? But that's not my job. The consequences will come if they keep doing these things wrong, and I believe that I will be rewarded in the end. But let God take care of them. So to reiterate, life without consequences isn't actually a good thing. Consequences can actually guide you on your best path and help you to stay on track and stay on task. Lesson number 2 from aka Charlie Sheen, which is one I can't say enough, which is the importance of your friends, family, and your inner circle. As we saw in this documentary, Charlie had some great friends who were loyal to him no matter what, even when Charlie probably didn't deserve it, such as like his best friend Tony Todd, who lived a clean, healthy life. But then Charlie also had some really bad, horrible influences on him, with whom he did drugs and partied with non-stop. Now look, Charlie was also part of the problem himself, so you can't excuse that and say that like it was just all these people who were making him act poorly and forcing him to make bad choices. But as I always say and repeat, you were the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around, so being around these fellow druggies and alcoholics didn't help his cause. But I will say that you can tell from this documentary, and from the interviews that like I've been listening to from Charlie Sheen, like for instance how he was on Joe Rogan recently, he was always very loved, and did have some incredible support from his family, his friends, his best friends, which is also what makes it so sad when you see him making these bad choices early on in his life. A lot of Charlie's story reminds me of the whole Matthew Perry story, which I also read about, and he also even mentioned him, but thankfully Charlie's outcome seems to be ending differently, as long as he stays sober and making amends in his life. But the really touching thing was to hear how every single time that like Charlie fell off the path and his life was going horribly bad or downhill, his dad and his brothers were always trying to help him, and they probably saved his life and are the reason why he's still here. And it's sad because your poor actions don't just hurt you, but they also hurt your family and friends, as we all saw in this documentary.
I can't imagine being my dad. Could have really hurt the people I love.
So I can't emphasize enough the people who you choose to surround yourself with, and also like trust your intuition around these people. If you're around certain people and something doesn't feel right in you, trust that. Don't keep going back to those toxic people, because eventually it's going to end bad for you. And it's not worth it to be with the cool or popular crowd if that means sacrificing your health or integrity, and you have to be someone who you're not. And also, it's so important to be strong enough to stand alone when that is the best option. Next up, lesson number 3 from aka Charlie Sheen is that drugs and alcohol don't provide real happiness. It's never enough, as you're always going to be chasing the next high. And as you can see from Charlie's story, he wasn't able to stop. The high was never high enough.
And he started experimenting with everything.
So it started with just weed, then turned into cocaine and harder drugs with more deleterious consequences until the whole thing became out of control. Now, as I always say, I'm not judging anyone's choices, but me personally, this is why I never drank or smoked. I'm not saying everyone has to be like me and has to be like 100% clean, but I never was nor wanted to be tempted by those things, because once you get started, as what happened to Charlie, he started justifying it to himself. It's like, oh, I'll just do it once or twice this week. But it was never enough for him. I would much rather get high on life, whether it's the high from a great workout, or from having a fun time with the people who I love to be around, or from playing sports or filming a video, etc., etc. There are so many other ways to have fun, as I've spoken about extensively in some of my other videos, that can be clean and genuine and don't have to involve drugs and alcohol. They aren't a necessary part of quote-unquote growing up in spite of how our society portrays them. Plus, addiction doesn't just hurt you, it also hurts the people around you. Charlie actually had a really powerful story that got him to stop, where he was taking his daughter to a hair appointment, but he couldn't drive because he was so messed up, so his friend had to drive her instead, with him in the back seat, and he could see his daughter being visibly upset. And Charlie's dad was also so hurt every time he fell back onto his bad habits too, but he was also kind enough to be there for him every time. Even when it came to his ex-wife, Denise Richards, you could see like how hurt she was by Charlie's behavior every time he was back taking drugs or drinking excessively. And as Charlie said, there's always a trade. And when you trade your family for drugs, you end up with just the drugs. So while I can't make the choices for you, be very careful with every input and always be aware of the consequences. Lesson number 4 from aka Charlie Sheen is that no one can save you but you. And also on the flip side, you can't save everyone else. You can't save the people who aren't willing to put in the work or the effort for themselves. So the first part of that, no one is going to do the work for you. You can't save everyone, and you may have a great support system as Charlie had, but it wasn't until he committed to healing and detox, because he finally had a strong enough commitment, that all that work actually stuck. No matter how many times his family or his brothers or his dad, or his ex-wives even tried to help him, or have any of these interventions, none of it stuck until he made the decision to get better himself.
It's on you.
Always has been.
And this is a super hard realization. Some people out there have to hit rock bottom before they make a change. Some people unfortunately never do, and their bad choices end up killing them. But all that you can do is offer your support. You can't force them to change their behavior. And as Tony did for Charlie, he was always there for him. And this is a super special friendship, but he couldn't force Charlie to change his life around. And you can see how much this hurt Tony, because Tony wanted to help him out so badly. And I've been in a similar spot myself too. I see people struggling with something, and I just wish I could make the change for them. But only you can save yourself. You can of course model the changes and model the right behaviors, but you can't force anyone to do what they aren't ready to do.
Well, sometimes you can't help these people till they hit rock bottom.
However, I have found you can plant the seeds. Maybe in conversation you drop hints of knowledge. You tell them how you learned this thing without overtly criticizing them, or telling them, oh, you have to do this, because doing that never works. But sometimes just by planting the seeds, they end up sprouting a year later. And you may even hear them referencing points like you made in a conversation with someone else. Lesson number 5 from aka Charlie Sheen is that no person is all good or all bad. And very few things are black or white, as I'm always saying. People are never just one thing, and everyone is always capable of changing. Now, of course, many people don't change, and are unwilling to, but it doesn't mean it's not possible. So when you're always judging people, are you perfect yourself? So when it comes to Charlie Sheen, I know I've never met him, maybe he is a horrible person, but I'm just going off of what the people in the documentary said. For instance, as John Cryer said, his co-star from 2.5 Men, he doesn't like to judge people just based on the worst thing that they've done. And he says how Charlie does have a lot of good qualities about him.
You wanted to like him because he was
Lovable, brilliant, handsome,
charming and smart.
Now, of course, when Charlie was addicted to drugs and alcohol, I'm sure that all of his worst qualities came out. But it's never too late to change, and it's never too late to have your own redemption story. You can rewrite your story by changing your actions, changing your patterns, one day at a time. Everyone loves a good comeback story, and people can be forgiving. Once again, I'm not excusing any of Charlie's past actions or harmful behaviors early on in his life. He was an extremely flawed individual who made some horrible choices. But does this mean that he's only a bad person, or that he only has bad qualities, and that's who he is to the end? No, and this is why I'm often saying that we can and should be learning from everyone. Because no person is all good or all bad, everyone has something to offer, so I'm always trying to find the nuance. And I'm rooting for Charlie now, as I'm sure so many others are as well. I hope that he keeps being there for his kids as a better father.
You can't really have a relationship with someone going through addiction.
Now, Charlie, sober.
I hope that he stays sober and makes amends with the people we hurt. Your book, though, is constantly being written, so no matter where you're at in your story, it's never too late to change course. Lesson number 6 from aka Charlie Sheen is that we have a responsibility to ourselves and as a society to not encourage bad behavior, and I believe that all of us need to do a better job at propping up the right people. Unfortunately, as we all know, social media so often will prop up the most spiritually devoid people, or the most controversial ones, and so often our society or even pop culture encourages the jerks, toxic people, or the toxic behaviors.
And the whole world goes, he's the f***ing guy. Imagine what that did to my head.
He was the highest paid TV star of all time.
The problem with this, though, is that when you have people who are getting famous from doing these bad things, what do you think the message is to the next generation? If I do this, if I engage in all these low vibrational behaviors, I can be rich or famous too. Or the person who's doing it thinks to themselves, I don't have to change. And this just enables more bad behavior. It's as we saw in the documentary, when Charlie's life was spiraling out of control, I'm pretty sure it was in 2011, he was hooked on drugs and yet he was being cheered on and seen as an icon. Where even he said, this shouldn't have happened looking back. So why was the media interviewing him? And why was his social media accounts blowing up when he was doing all these horrible things? And I'm not here saying there's only one right way to live, or just one right way to do things, and everyone has to act the exact same way as me, but especially these days you have everyone and every kid who wants to be an influencer. Now I don't see this as a bad thing, but the problem is when you ask them what they want to influence, and so often they have no idea. When all you want is fame, you're willing to sell your soul and do anything for it, versus being someone who wants to influence and promote positive behaviors, and promote good, positive, and healthy moral values too. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know if any of you watched the Charlie Sheen documentary and your thoughts on it. If you guys like the video, make sure to leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel. I will catch you guys next time. Stay positive, stay hustling, stay grinding, learn from everyone. Catch you next time. Peace.